have to thank Pastor Crockett and Lisa for putting me on the spot so last minute to ask the panel questions. So I want to start with saying that, we hear a lot that we've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go. So let's start with you, Pastor Crockett. How do you feel, or actually, what roles do representation play in your decision to open this kiosk in this specific community?
It was very, very important. Like I explained earlier, that, George probably was probably one of the first, um, as a role models as a male that I have seen, right? Uh, Most of my family was drug dealers and pimpers and other stuff. But seeing an educated man, forever, changed my perspective of an image. And so I know that's very important. So this right here, especially, I went to George. The first place we went to was First Washington Elementary School. First one that had the exhibit was there because we wanted to really represent him in there. And I think we still have a picture. It was a little girl. She was walked in there, and she seen a picture of an African American lady on that exhibit and pointed to her and said she looked like me. Right? When you didn't have that many school teachers and stuff like that, first thing she said that meant a whole lot, and I knew that what I was doing meant something. This thing was bigger than I am. And so representation is very, very, very important.
Just pass the mic, and then I'll just keep asking questions. So whoever you want to go first.
But I just make when I was growing up, one of the things that I was taught was that education was something that they never took away from you. And so you were taught to get an education and the importance of education. And that had a huge thing to do with any success that I've had in life. Also, the other thing was people you associate with. You want to be around people that are positive and do things and have facts behind what they do and learn. So that's and I had a mother and father that my mother did not graduate from elementary school. My father graduated from high school. But he taught us, he told us, this is what you need to do. So, education is my
Absolutely. Okay, the next question. What role do you see this kiosk playing in helping to build stronger ties among people from different backgrounds?
Is that for me or?
Go ahead and answer, George.
Well, I think it's extremely important that people know their history. If you don't know your history, you don't have a place to support whatever additional education you can. You have to know your history. And I had a situation, all of our kids they went to different elementary schools and high school, but one day George came home. I have 3 children. George is a set of twins. George is one of them. And he said, the teacher asked me some questions about black people, because there were 3 in the elementary school, and all of them were 9. So they didn't really know much about black people, and so at any rate, I went to a book to learn about African civilization, and I found out some interesting things. Everything started in Africa, and the more you learn, my background as an engineer taught me to go research things. And I hate to shock people, but we're all one race, and that's the human race. And so I spend time talking about that when I talk to people. But this exhibit helps people to understand that folks came and contributed to this community. And Nate, you showed, was my cousin. And so Nate was odd, but Nate was bright. And Nate is still living.
Yeah.
Next for you, Virgil. What are some of the ways you hope to inspire the next generation of blacks in this community through your work with this kiosk? Yeah, mhm.
What did they get?
What are some of the ways you hope to inspire the next generations of blacks in the community through your work with this kiosk?
Well, not many people. Okay. I'm Jackie Trotter's husband for a lot of years. And I guess I've always been in the background. I've supported her in many different ways. In my own way, I tried to help educate people, black people. I tried to set an example by, I tried to set an example by coaching my kids in sports and coaching other kids. A lot of those, some of those pictures in the kiosk, I think I took because I always also was a photographer. But I did coach youth football for 10 years. Was on the board of youth football. I did t-ball. I did hockey. I did all types of things, trying to show by example that black people were valued, black people knew how to do things, and my kids participated, George's kids participated, a lot of us trying to show by example and keep out of trouble and all of those other type of things that people expected negatively about us. And I guess I look at this historical stuff, the kiosk, is to show people that we are here and we have contributed and we continue to contribute. Yeah. That's it.
Can I just inject one, what you said about I Rise? We did a play back in this community, and we all participated and shared. So the thing is, there's a cycle that goes on. When Andre came, DeWanda came, it's like, well, they continued the tradition of it. Hey, how do we share and how do we teach this community that we make contributions here? We're not just here to take advantage of some welfare system, but we work and we contribute, and I think that's important to understand. And I'll also say that, there's a need also for people to understand that people are human and they want the same basic things that white people in this community do. Good education, opportunity, they want to stay away from, physically being abused or whatever, and we all want the same thing. And I promise to shut up.
Ms. Jackie, you have been a staple in this community for a lot of us young black women. And so we appreciate you. We really do. How important is it to have spaces that highlight black excellence in everyday life, and how can that contribute to changing local narratives?
Well, when I look at real art, when I pass by, I'm like, real art. I am so proud of that as a concrete example of what it means to be an African American person here and valuing our history and culture to the degree that you put your energy, your sweat, your money, your family into that sign on Broadway and that store on Broadway that says real art. And I want to go back to what Black history means education because it was against the law. My grandparents were sharecroppers and picked cotton, and they could not be educated. My grandparents, my maternal grandparents went to second grade, and they could not be educated because of the law said that the people who owned the land could enslave you in a new way to that land. So even your children had to work on that land. My parents, because their parents, even though they weren't educated, even though my grandparents weren't educated, they valued it, and my parents were more educated than any of their ancestors. They passed that love of education on to their children, and they worked very hard so that we could go to school. But it was a struggle. And my brothers and I graduated from college. I was almost 50 before I graduated from college. But I was gonna graduate from college. And when I started at 18, my grandmother, with her second grade education, went out at a rummage sale, bought me a typewriter for $1. Because that was how she could support my college education. And I used that typewriter. I typed his resume once he graduated from college. He graduated first. And our children lived in a community in Minnesota. Minnesota is one of the states that has the biggest educational gap between African American children and white children. And that is because of history. It is not because those children are not smart, as our new member of the school board knows fervently. It is because they bear the legacy as children. They bear the legacy of what has happened in this country. And so I value Black history. I look back on my ancestors and I'm like, there's that saying, they buried us, but they did not know we were seeds. And one of the things that happened in Rochester was our third son came home one day and he said, Mom, if those kids don't stop touching my hair, I'm gonna beat them up. And he was the one who was gonna do that. And so I went up to school and I said, I will share with these children why people are different colors. Luckily for me, their teacher said, come on. I did, and she told me, Miss Evelyn Luneman was a first grade teacher at home school where the boys and girls clubbers, and she said, oh, all the kids in Rochester need to, a white woman, all the kids in Rochester need to know this. She said, and she was a pretty stern lady, she said, you go down to that Edison building, and you tell them what you're doing, and you tell them you want to do this in the school. And I was like, what? I didn't have a college degree, but I had read a lot. So I said, okay, I'm going down there. I went down there, I talked to them, and they said, you can do it. Well, I'm not going to tell you all of that, but about 3 months ago, I was in the drugstore, and a gentleman kept staring at me, and he said, are you Mrs. Trotter? And I had on the mask on, my hat was down, and I said, yes, I'm Mrs. Trotter. He said, oh, do you remember me? Well, he was one of that, I get asked that a lot. And no, what school did you go to? Anyway, he told me he went to this school and he remembered when I came to school, told him about why people were different colors. And I thanked him for saying hello and wished him well.